Welcome to San Jose State University School of Information's Earth Day 2025 Symposium entitled Digital Sustainability and the Role of Technology for Greener Library Services. I'm Dr. Anthony Chow, Professor and Director of the iSchool, and I'm truly honored to kick off today's event. Thank you all for being here, whether you're joining us from across the country, across the world, across campus. Your presence speaks to the importance of this conversation. Our theme today aligns with the Global Earth Day call to action, Our Power, Our Planet. As library and information professionals, we truly sit at the intersection of technology, education, and community impact. Today's program invites us to explore how our libraries, often digital first responders, can lead the way in promoting sustainability through innovative technologies and greener practices. From operational efficiency to community engagement, from reducing waste to embracing renewable energy, our field has a powerful role to play. And we're joined by an incredible lineup of speakers who are doing just that, modeling what it looks like to lead with intention, purpose, and care for our planet. All of our previous symposia have been recorded, and so please go to our symposium webpage, and I'm going to drop that in the chat. In our sustainability webpage, also going to drop that in the chat. We also have an active YouTube channel, so this will be our fourth year doing an Earth Day celebration. And let me put that there. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of the various content that we are generating through our Culture and Community Symposia. So again, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome. I hope you come away inspired, informed, and ready to act on your own. Let's get started. Let me turn it over to our Health and Wellness and Sustainability Ambassador, Loida Garcia-Febo. Loida?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Earth Day 2025 Symposium, right? Digital Sustainability and the Role of Technology for Greener Library Services. Happy Earth Day! It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the Earth Day Symposium. And the iSchool is committed to equitable, inclusive, and sustainable library services, as Dr. Chow mentioned. And today we join the world in honoring Earth Day under the theme, Our Power, Our Planet, a call to action for all of us to rise together in support of renewable energy and environmental action. And this year's global message asks us to triple the world's clean energy production by 2030. And it's within this critical context that we are gathering today to explore how libraries, with the power of digital innovation, can actively contribute to this transformation. And we know that digital tools, when used responsibly, can reduce waste, cut energy usage, and empower communities. And the high school actually has been a leader in this space, as Dr. Chow mentioned, cultivating future-ready professionals ready to bring this vision to life. The high school is also committed to advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Particularly, there is stellar work in the areas of climate action, quality education, and sustainable communities. Over the years, I have been collaborating with them and also witness how the iSchool has integrating sustainability into web events like this one, their partnerships and academic programs, emphasizing how libraries can lead in sustainability, not only environmentally, but socially and economically. Well, this symposium is a powerful reflection of that work. Over the next 2 hours, we will hear from forward-thinking minds in our field. And I would like to share my screen briefly, show everybody on one screen. You can see them. And our keynotes panel will begin shortly and will feature Dr. Maggie Farrell, Dean of Libraries at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Mario Ascencio, College Librarian and Managing Director at the ArtCenter College of Design in Pasadena, California, Phyllis Goodeill, Director of the Norte County Library, and Dr. Anthony Chow, Director of the San Jose State University iSchool, and also lead of the Library Technology Integration Lab. Together, they will discuss the central role of libraries in digital sustainability, sharing examples of how libraries are actively reducing their environmental impact through technology and innovation. And following that, we will have another panel, and this second session is a panel discussion on leveraging technology for greener library services. And there we'll hear from Oscar Gittemeier from San Diego Public Library, Sandra Michele Echols, School Librarian and Bibliotherapist from New York, and Sarah Tribelhorn, Sciences and Sustainability Librarian at San Diego State University. They will also share strategies to embed sustainability into everyday library operations, from programming and design to digital resource management, and how to use these innovations to empower the communities we serve. And we will conclude each one of these panels with a section for questions from our attendees. You can also feel free to engage on the chat. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for your time. If our keynote panelists can unmute, we'll start. And I would like to know, and of course, I think our attendees would like to know about this. Why do you think libraries are uniquely positioned to lead in this space of sustainability? And I would like to go first to Maggie Farrell.
Well, thank you, Loida, and good morning, everyone from Las Vegas. So, libraries are uniquely positioned because sustainability has been a core value for all of us. The reason why we share books, essentially, libraries have been on the forefront of when we withdraw materials from the collection. We first try and find a home for those books, and if all else fails, then we will recycle them. So by our very nature of sharing materials through interlibrary loan or move to digital collections, and how we work as a profession puts us in a very unique role. I don't think we've always called it sustainability. So one of the challenges that I have at UNLV as we talk about sustainability and recycling efforts and a greener university is noting that the libraries have been on the forefront for many, many years, and recognizing that the contributions libraries have already made and are committed to sustainability.
That is really right on point. And thank you so much, Maggie. And I would like now to go to Phyllis, because Maggie is an academic and Phyllis is in another type of library. So I'm very curious about that.
Well, I'm a librarian in the state of California, and the state of California has asked that the libraries be sustainable, that we look at alternate sources of energy, that we get solar panels, if at all possible, installed on our roofs, that we use products that are earth friendly as far as cleaning products and bathroom products and all those kinds of things. They've even asked us to add something into the job description so that every employee agrees to work in a sustainable environment. And if we manage to do all of these things, then our library can become a sustainable, in part of the title or part of how we promote ourselves. We can use the title sustainable in our description of our library. And so that I don't know that there are a lot of work environments who would agree to do those kinds of things, because some of those things are expensive, and for a nonprofit to agree to find the funding to pay for these things, I think that puts us at the forefront of this is an example to be a leader in the community of how to be sustainable.
You have said something very important about that, right? There must be intention and action behind being sustainable and helping to preserve the planet, because I think at the bottom of our intentions, maybe we want that, but there's actions and that we need to have it sort of like planned, and hopefully we'll touch on that as we go, through this conversation this time. I wanted to also mention something that came to mind when you were speaking. When I was ALA president, we approved that the strategic plan for this association that includes thousands and thousands of members was going to be carried out through a lens of sustainability. So there is another piece here, right? You were mentioning California, you were asked there are some requirements. So there's also things that and steps and policies and measures perhaps that organizations and institutions can take to ensure and that they are supporting sustainability. So thank you for that. And then I would like to go to Dr. Anthony Chow, because he's leading this, the school, but also the lab, and that is fascinating. And if we think about that and the role of sustainability in libraries.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I wanted to say the existence of this symposium reflects our commitment to sustainability. It's a strategic value and a strategic goal of the iSchool. And again, we're to be a host. The Library Technology Integration Lab really reflects the use of technology for digital preservation and sustainability in terms of preserving today for the future. So I'm going to put in chat an example of this. It's a browser-based virtual reality IMLS-funded project with the Northern Cheyenne to digitally preserve their culture, their land, their stories, their traditions. Now, I will be the first to recognize the fact that there is a tension in a large carbon footprint of, virtual reality, AI, and all of those other issues. So I do want to put that on the table. But when we think about preserving and sustaining today for the future, I think that it is something that we must do. So the Library Technology Integration Lab essentially promotes digital literacy and digital equity for all. And I'm happy to say we not only won an award for this work, but we also have been approached by the state of Hawaii to also do the same thing based on the Lahaina fires, right? And so obviously the digital world, in terms of our role in sustaining, again, today for the future is critical, and we are more empowered than ever. And last thing I would say with this example, may I share my screen real quick?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Would be to make it more accessible. So the other issue with sustainability is being able to share, that with other people quickly. So what you have here is what we call browser-based virtual reality, right? No, you don't need a headset. You don't need to download anything. It's just a hyperlink. And so here's a perfect example. So this is a young grass dancer in full regalia. That's my digital twin. I love how digital twins always show me like I just came back from the gym. But the bottom line is this is an example of preserving their today for the future. Talking to, his name is Sodazin, he says the art of grass dancing is also starting to wane. Right. And the ability to share video, 3D scans. In the background there, you'll see an actual 360 photo of Lame Deer, Montana. So anyway, just wanted to provide that as an example of what I'm thinking in terms of sustainability is documenting today for tomorrow.
That's fascinating, and I'm so glad to see that. I hope our attendees now and those that tune in to watch the recording are inspired and maybe can build on something, right, related to these examples. And we have one of our keynote panels today is I have worked with him for a long time, but he is the director of an art library. And to me, that is an amazing world. And I'm very curious to know, what are you guys doing there in terms of sustainability? How your library is uniquely positioned to lead and maybe collaborate with the rest of the campus.
Yeah. So thanks, Loida, for the invitation to be here and to the San Jose State University. Yeah. So being at an art and design college, obviously presents some unique challenges, as well as for, I'm looking at Maggie in universities that have art and design programs, because art and design programs, I mean, they're wonderful. I'm so proud to be affiliated with ArtCenter College of Design, but obviously our schools are very material heavy. With practices, we use prototype culture, so creation of prototypes to then only be put in the dumpster and not reused. Very energy intensive production where we have automobile design at my school, product design, interaction design, so very energy intensive production. 3D printing, all that stuff that goes on. And then obviously packaging and then the waste that is created. Not to mention the chemicals on the campus to create things. So it's a very, very unique situation that we're in. And then I'm also, I just want to also say, I learned this morning that Pope Francis passed away, and reminded that in 2015, he was talking about the need for sustainability. And I want to make the connection between this and design and capitalism, because he talks about the waste that is being, the filth that is being produced. And I want to say that design schools when we create the new iPhone, right? We all want that new iPhone, but what happens to that old iPhone? Why can't that old iPhone be more efficiently upgraded or fixed by more people? And so there's issues that design, I just want to bring the issues and challenges that art and design schools have, and design in general in our population. So I think for us, I think libraries, as Maggie had mentioned, I think libraries are natural stewards of sustainability. We haven't called it sustainability. Actually, I was calling it sustainability a while back ago, but it was kind of like not intentional. I was just saying we need to create sustainable collections and so on. But I think we're in a position to do that because we have a culture of lending, of sharing, and it's just who we are. And so when we're thinking about what happens to the life cycle of a physical book, right? The acquisitions, the management, but then what happens to the deaccession part? And I think we just have a long history. All of us have a long history of either book sales, sending it to Better World Books to get resold. And or recycled. And by the way, I want to mention that Better World Books is no longer recycling books. So if any of you have suggestions for that, so that's something that's just was announced. And so so the recycling of those materials and is crucial. So I think libraries are in a great position to help colleges with sustainable efforts.
Thank you, Mario, for that perspective. It's very important. Libraries are so diverse, and wherever there is a faculty, some type of subject being taught, there is a library. And so it's important to bring all those perspectives to the table. And Mario, you mentioned, and Anthony as well, technology and, a bit of the environmental impact. And I'll go back to Mario, but I would like to circle to all our speakers. But can you share then any specific sustainability focused projects that have been made possible or perhaps improved through digital innovation in your specific area, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of those are kind of simple projects, and I think this is like actually a good takeaway for the attendees, that you don't have to start big, but just moving like forms, like paper forms to like jot form and things like that is crucial. So just a purchase, things like that. All those type of small little efforts, they actually add up to bigger sustainable efforts. So talking about technology, we've used we've licensed a product called OCLC Green Glass to help us assess our collections, to figure out who else owns the collection, can we deaccession and send it to Better World Books, and or commit to preserving that title for long periods of time. And so like a shared print program. And so we have used that, some technologies in relation to art and design technologies or software. We're using something called Materials Connection, and this is a licensed product that allows our students and faculty to research sustainable materials for their projects. And I think they're based in New York, actually. They have a library in New York somewhere, and I've never been to it. But what our students can do is they can go on the database and request materials to be sent to them. And they're not sent to them by Materials Connection, but by the vendors. And so this is something that we provide to our students. But in preparation for this panel discussion, I was thinking, okay, we need to beef up our efforts to promote this and the sustainable efforts. And so I am committing right here, right now. I will make that an effort.
Great.
Also,
I'll write it as a result.
Yes. Also, Phyllis's comment about having the job description, that's amazing. That's something that I'm gonna fight for on my campus. Thank you, Phyllis.
Oh, that's great. Let's go to Phyllis. Yes.
Well, I put it in the chat, but as far as recycling goes, we're a library, and we get a lot of boxes, weekly boxes full of stuff, books, and so we keep it all in an area. And once a month, we hire a group called GH Outreach, and they hire only developmentally and disabled individuals. And they come once a month to our library, and they recycle all of our cardboard and our paper and our plastic and the styrofoam that always seems to come in all these crazy boxes. And so that way we are lifting up the disabled community. They also do our yard maintenance, and they recycle all of the, or they mulch all of the clippings from our grass. So we chose to hire this group of people. We could have gone with any landscaper, and we could have had, our trash hauler haul away our cardboard, but we decided to hire a local company that supports disabled individuals. And we feel like that's an important thing to do for people in our community. It gives them a job, and that's also creating work situations for people, I think, is also a way to be sustainable, in that we are teaching the next generation. I got 2 high school students in my library learning how to be librarians, because this fosters the, and this is like their first work place. And I felt like it was a really safe place to learn how to work with the public, and how to be basic, shelving and all of those kinds of things. Teaching the next generation how to do this. It's more than just learning it out of a book. Let me show you how we walk this out. What does this look like for our next generation? To teach them to be sustainable, to teach them about our environment and how to take care of it.
That is so important, and it's part of in like the big picture, right? Because every detail, every steps contributes to the, let's say, sustainability locally, but that also impacts, if it's the community or your city, then the state, hopefully the country, the world. We have to see it that way. Otherwise, we will maybe turn into, well, it will never happen, or we can't contribute, but we can. And this is just amazing, very inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing that, Phyllis. And I want to go to Maggie. She is on the other side of maybe perhaps in the academic world.
So I want to go back to a comment that Mario made about internal operations. And this is where we have been very successful in moving all of our paperwork to electronic. So, and I can tell a difference. So if I could turn around and show you my office, you will see that I only have 2 file drawers of paper. My snacks in the office take up more room than paper. So busy lives means you always have to have snacks in the office. But I think that that we've been a leader within the libraries in the university. We've moved our processes to totally electronic. So we route all of our forms, and universities, we have so many forms. But within the library, we moved all of our processes to digital signatures, digital routing, and then digital files for everything. And so it has really changed our footprint within the library, and that the administrative office is much smaller. We don't have a lot of the file cabinets and paperwork chase that we used to have. But there's also a bit of a downside on this, and that is, we know that it takes more energy to do that. It also takes a lot of thinking about those files and who has access to those files and privacy of those files. So, for instance, we had somebody suddenly leave the university, but everything was connected to their account. So we've had to change our thinking on how do we manage an electronic office collection, and how do we do it in a way that protects individuals' private information, but also ensures that it's available for the future, as Dr. Chow noted. We want to make sure we keep those files, and then we want to make sure that we're doing thoughtful record management, and that we delete those files, because as you know, in an electronic world, they live forever. So it's taking us a lot of thought to think about, okay, how do we move to a digital environment that's better for the physical environment? But it changes all of our work processes, and we need to be mindful of those values, not only in librarianship, but good personnel and organizational management.
Amazing what it goes into being sustainable and kind of planet friendly, right? That's very complex. Dr. Chow, what about the lab and the school, right? And these varying initiatives, because you have another perspective in terms of the education piece.
Yeah, I'm kind of building on what Maggie said in terms of print. So in college, my first job was at a law firm, and part of my job was to make copies and put together the briefs, thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. And if there's an error, we throw away all those thousands of pages and redo it. And I just remember even then just feeling a little bit bad about the waste that we were generating. So I'd say several things. One, I think the role for libraries of all kinds is the sustainability literacy that we must use as an educational. We must educate. The bottom line is that the digital movement, if you will, access. We know it's here. I think it's projected to be about 60%, 40% within a few years as far as more digital access than there's print access. But it doesn't mean print books are going to go away either. Both practices have the need for sustainability and recycling. And so I know that some libraries are already doing this, where ultimately we must be, I think, centers for receiving old devices, so that we can help with the recycling process and obviously educate as well. It said that you just need to read 20 to 25 books on your e-reader to be more sustainable than if it was in print form, right? And so ultimately, the carbon footprint and the use of AI and the VR space that I showed you on a server, it definitely has a carbon footprint. But I think that ultimately for both print books and now digital devices, we need to emulate the same sustainability process. Lastly, I would say the LTI Lab, we're about digital literacy to empower librarians and users to leverage technology for digital literacy, whatever that looks like. Obviously, sustainability must be part of that education.
That's so very important, and I'm so grateful that all of you share different pieces, different kind of views, all related to sustainability, technology, and also community. And I would like to just go back to the community piece of things, specifically community engagement and education, because libraries are at the center of that. And I'd like to ask if you can think and give us examples of programs or initiatives where technology helped engage your community in sustainability efforts. And I would like to go back to maybe Phyllis. Yes.
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Technology and sustainability. I don't really know that we have. We do have like the VR goggles, and we have, so we're rolling out a program this summer for that, where patrons can come in and use the goggles in the library. And I know a lot of libraries are doing that. And one of the things that the state of California did was we took all of our Overdrive collections, which are like 300,000 titles now, and it's all on one app, and you don't have to have necessarily a library card to access some of those titles. And that includes 100,000 titles of magazines. So you can imagine the reduction in paper, going from a paper magazine, like the one I happen to have right here, real simple. It's all online. You can look at it on your phone. You don't have to have a paper copy. 300,000 titles the state of California has put on an app called the Palace app. So I don't know if that's local, but we agreed that locally we would do this in my consortium of the NorthNet library system, and that we would take the funds that the state was giving us and put that towards the state of California bookshelves. So that's what popped into my head. I hope that relates to your question.
Yes, absolutely. And you remind me that not all libraries are participating in such initiatives because of different reasons, right? Maybe funding, maybe they don't have the team for it, because you need to have a set of conditions. And so it's so important. I can say though that some of my friends here in New York, where I live, they may not go physically to a library, but they have this Libby or another app on their phones with many, many titles available. And so their library is in their hand. And so that's another way of engaging community. So that's very smart, if possible, right? It's, Phyllis mentioned, there are some conditions. The state is supporting that. The library took measures in terms of funding. So, if you can get all that together, that is amazing. And I see Maggie nodding. And so I want to go to her now.
I'm nodding because I'm a huge Libby user of my public libraries. And to tell you the truth, I'm not even sure I could find my way to my local public library. But I don't need to because I have it on my phone. And it's also how I interact with our faculty. So sometimes when I meet faculty at UNLV, they'll say, I love the library, but I have not been in it in a couple of years. And my follow-up question is, are you finding the resources that you need for teaching and research? And they're like, yes, I use interlibrary loan, I go online, I'm engaged with the library. And I think, making sure that the university understands, particularly our funders, that you don't need to physically be in the library to take advantage of it. But I want to go back to really talking about the community and some of their work. Again, I don't think we call it sustainability, but our work in special collections, and I know that this happens in libraries across the United States, and that we are preserving our histories of our communities. So I think about architectural drawings, the collections we have for all, not all, but many of the large casinos here in Las Vegas. Think of photographs, family stories, and so forth. And on one hand, that is keeping items out of the trash. But on the other hand, it's preserving our past and making sure that it is accessible. And that in and of itself is a sustainable action. And that we, are collecting those materials, preserving those materials, making sure that they're available in the future. And as Dr. Chow also noted, digitizing them, because that reduces traffic to UNLV to use those collections, or it just reduces the amount of work needed to access a physical collection. So all of that is community engagement. And again, we don't call it sustainability, but the core of it, it's actually what we are doing. And there's the philosophical sustaining our community by preserving the history. And that's taking it above recycling, taking it above those areas, but how we interact with our communities and engage them and preserve that history is sustaining that history, those communities for the future.
Thank you, Maggie. That is super good. I mean, we're talking about art libraries, libraries that serve communities with casinos. I mean, the casino capital of the world. I cannot wait to share this recording because it's very unique, and we're linking it to sustainability. And I want to just go to Dr. Chow now.
So I wanted to say, as we end the time of this panel, I wanted to give Phyllis a little space to think, maybe share the amazing things that are happening through the dam removals on the Klamath River. So her area, she's seeing the effects, and I think this would be a great analogy and maybe a hopeful look in terms of what we can do and how resilient nature is. So I didn't want if Mario wanted to jump in on the conversation, but let's give Phyllis just a few minutes to talk about what incredible things are happening in her area, maybe as a way to include this discussion, because it's just very inspiring.
Let me unmute myself so maybe you could hear me. Sorry about that. The Klamath was dammed in 4 places. About 100 years ago, maybe. I don't know when they started doing that, but they dammed the Klamath. And so the salmon couldn't come upriver and spawn. And it flooded rows of trees. My tribes in my area are foragers, the Yurok and the Talawadini Nation. They forage. There's not enough land, and the climate is not encouraging planting most fruits and vegetables. So they foraged. And the thing that they foraged the most for was the main staple of their diet is oak trees, the acorns. And then the salmon was the main protein of their diet. So these things were killed off when the Klamath was dammed. All 4 dams have been removed. And before the dams were ever removed, seeds were being propagated. students from for Cal Poly Humboldt, as well as the Yurok tribe and other organizations within Humboldt and Del Norte County. And it's Del Norte. We say Del Norte because it's the Portuguese pronunciation, not the Spanish. So these organizations all came together, and they had seedlings that they put out in thousands of acres of land, and 3,231 seeds were stored so that the seeds could be put, the grasses, the native grasses, the native plants, and the salmon are starting to come back, and plants are growing, and animals are starting to come back into that land. The ecology that was destroyed is coming back. And there are pictures on Cal Poly Humboldt's website. There is a whole website dedicated to, I forget what it's called, but I think it's, if you Google Klamath Dams, all kinds of information will come up and you'll be able to follow that. There's a Facebook page, Cal Poly. I always want to say Humboldt State because it was Humboldt State when I started. I graduated as a Cal Poly graduate, but when I started, it was Humboldt State. So I apologize for using both of them, but still in my head, it's still Humboldt State. But anyway, they have a Facebook page. There's tons of pictures of students going out with bags, canvas bags full of seeds or canvas bags full of seedlings and planting them into the land that was covered with water. It's amazing how even in such a short time, I think it's been less than a year, and the river is coming back. She is healing herself, as the Yurok would say. She is healing herself. There was a lot of sludge behind the dams, and it all had to wash downstream. And so we were concerned because we normally have the cleanest rivers in the nation. The Smith River is the cleanest river in the nation. You can see the fish flowing in the river. It is completely clear. And so for the Klamath to all of a sudden be this pea green, we were kind of concerned. We as residents of the area were concerned about that, but it is getting cleaner every day. So eventually all of that sludge will be washed away, and we will come back to these beautiful rivers that we have enjoyed time immemorial. So it's just incredible to see how all of these organizations have come together and have chosen, and the Yurok were told that one dam getting removed would be impossible, and they've managed to remove 4. And this is their land. And they are the Yurok and the Talawar did not get put on a reservation. This is their tribal homeland. Their people have been here since time began. And for them to see this as an outsider and a person who did not grow up in this area but have lived here for the past 24 years, to see the progress and to see the pride on the Yurok faces, and to know that there will be salmon, native salmon, at the Salmon Festival this year. And in years past, there have been no salmon. They had to order it and get it sent in from Alaska. But this year, there will be salmon from the Klamath River at their salmon celebration.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Whoa, my goodness, that's amazing. It's all linked, because nowadays we cannot do anything that is not linked to technology, to sustainability. So it's all linked, and it's so inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I mean, the power of libraries working with communities, with different stakeholders to make these huge things happen. So if it happens where Phyllis is, it can happen where each one of us are. And we're about to close this spectacular keynote, but I would like to ask Maria last question. What would your dream green library of the future look like? And if you have, along with that, if you have any advice for libraries that are starting to look into greening strategies?
I guess shout out to my coworker Juliet Jaidai, who she has a green thumb. So I would imagine like a plant-filled space, which we are doing, something that invites, and makes the library feel welcome. So a resource hub that prioritizes digital access and creative use. One thing that I would say is I would also incorporate sustainability, just like, and I'm speaking for higher ed, like just like we talk about student affordability, student success. Let's make sustainability one of those goals, and that would be a dream to make that change.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mario, and everyone here. We have an agenda for today, and I would love us to continue talking, but we're going to switch gears to our next session. But thank you so much. This is very inspirational, and when I promote this the recording, I need to highlight each one of your areas because people need to come back to this. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful season. Switching now to our panel discussion with Oscar, Sandra, and Sarah, and they are here with us. And I want them also to pronounce their names because they have very interesting last names, and I am afraid I'm just not doing them justice. Welcome, all of you, and what we're going to do is we're going to go in order: Oscar, Sandra, and Sarah, and they're going to share their examples, their amazing work, and then after that, we're going to take some questions. And so, welcome, Oscar. You're the first. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me just repeat the name of this panel for those that are following. Leveraging Technology for Greener Library Services. Welcome, Oscar.
All right, so thanks everyone. It is Oscar Gittemeier, by the way. So you'll notice I am working from San Diego Public Library here in Southern California. You may hear a bit of a Southern accent from me. I spent most of my career in Atlanta and also grew up in the Midwest. So like a lot of folks, we migrate around this world, right? So I come from several places. I'll be asking you all to contribute and share where you are joining us from. I'll be talking today about a consortia that I work with, the San Diego Circuit team, and we're going to be talking about supporting climate resilience, a public and academic partnership in San Diego County. And so part of my work, I got to work with this team creating a resilience guide. But before I jump in, if you could throw in the chat, tell me who you are and where you are coming from. And I'll ask my fellow panelists to also share, not just the institution you work with, but where is home for you? So for me, home, like I said, was Atlanta most of my adult life, and then the Midwest as a child growing up. So if I could ask folks to just throw in the chat, where is home for you? Where do you work? What type of organization are you in? And while folks are throwing that in the chat, I'm going to talk a little bit about my work here in San Diego. So this is me here with our mascot, Odie, the library coyote. And you can see down in the bottom left here, we are doing a tree planting with our local mayor, Todd Gloria. And so I got to work with Tree San Diego, doing some tree equity work here in San Diego, ensuring that trees are planted in places throughout our city. I also get to serve as our commute champion for our department. So our city really promotes transit, van pool, lots of alternative transportation modes to get to and from work. Many departments telework as well. And so part of that work, I get to work really closely a lot with our local bicycle coalition. And you can see here the photos on the right. This was a grant that we did to get electric cargo bikes for outreach for our library system. And then in the bottom, you can see our electric outreach van. So again, this is just shifting how we're doing outreach, creating other opportunities for ways to connect with our community. So that is a little bit about me here in San Diego. So next, I'll jump in and talk about the team. So the Circuit Information Issues for Social Impact, this is a consortium of 6 public and academic libraries. It was formed in '97 around resource sharing. So again, just, libraries have always been wed to sustainability, that collaboration, that sharing. So again, we started doing this collaborative programming in 2021. This is the team here. You'll notice Sarah Tribelhorn is part of this circuit team, so I'm glad she's on the panel today. But also tons of folks. We're working with UCSD, we're working with San Diego State University, we're working with the University of San Diego, both the Law Library and the Copley Library. So just a really great team of folks coming together. And our goals for the information issues team was to support this larger county campaign to counteract misinformation. So how do we support climate resiliency and sustainability throughout our communities? And how can public and academic libraries work together to achieve that? So why it mattered is we think libraries can build the community resilience to misinformation and to climate change. So we were basically responding to users' climate questions in the library, right? So we're in just the best possible space to do this work. So I want to ask a question for the panel, my co-panelists here, and also those attending. What are you using to combat climate misinformation in your organizations or in your local communities? Are there local groups that you work with? Are there databases or resources or trusted sites that you have vetted and that you promote in your communities? If you could throw in the chat any local organization you work with, any databases or resources that you like to use to combat misinformation, please throw that in the chat. And I'll jump into kind of what we were doing. So some of the tools that our team used for collaboration are, and I'm not going to go into depth in these, but there are logic models, appreciative inquiry, and map and how to frame it. And so if you want to deep dive into collaborative work in your community, I highly recommend these. So again, our Circuit Information Issues team, we created this climate resilience guide. So these are all local resources here in San Diego County that we can access here. We hosted 6 sustainability author talks. We also recorded those author talks and we made them virtual. So there's a YouTube component, and I'll get into a little bit about why we did that later. We also hosted sustainability resource fairs. So we had those local community groups like Tree San Diego, like our local transit authority, come to these talks and share information and resources with the public. Another thing for community engagement, we partnered with our local transit authority. So when we wanted to engage people, we put ads at trolley stops and at bus stops because we were trying to build in the sustainability mindset with the work we were doing. So I highly recommend partnering with your transit authority. It is some of the most low-cost advertising you will do. And it's a great way to really connect with, in San Diego, we often call them communities of concern. And so it's a great way to connect with folks. So again, our programming, we hosted these author talks. We had Winona LaDuke, Wawa Gathru, Chris Turner, Keith Camacho, Jen Soriano, Craig Santos Perez, phenomenal authors, National Book Award winners, great in the sustainability sort of atmosphere there. They were fantastic. And at these author talks, we're also bringing in those community partners to do tabling. So prior to each author talk, we would have Tree San Diego, we would have student groups, we would have the Bicycle Coalition coming out and sharing, what is action that we can do in our community right now, today, to have an impact. So we're bringing in national authors, but then also partnering with local community groups. So another question for the group, how are you ensuring equity and accessibility in your institution? So if you have any recommendations for things that you're doing, please throw those in the chat and I'll tell you a little bit about what we did while y'all are throwing that in the chat. So some of the things we did is we partnered with our local San Diego County library system. So they are part of this consortium with us. We did collaborative social media boosts. So we're pushing out information collaboratively. You can see on our social media images to the right there, using multiple logos to push out across our library systems. Also promote, like I said, the transit campaigns, and then presenting at conferences and webinars, just like this one. So sharing the work that we've done. We also used in San Diego, we have what's called a climate equity index, and that's produced by our city. So it's a way to sort of acknowledge, environmental racism, which neighborhoods are most heavily impacted by climate change. And also our local county puts out a healthy places index, which has a very holistic look at, air quality, water quality, access to green spaces. And so we used these two indexes to help inform our targeted advertising and where we wanted to host these programs, to make sure that we were including people in the conversation that are most deeply impacted by climate change. Another equity and accessibility tool we used was to offer live Spanish translation. So if our author was speaking in English, we had local live Spanish translation through earpieces. We also offered ASL interpretation. And we also converted a lot of our ads and our promotions into 9 of the most commonly spoken languages in San Diego County. So that was really helpful, just to have everything in multiple languages, offer ASL interpretation, offer Spanish translation. And next I want to ask about assessment tools. So if anyone has any advice on what they are using in their institution or in their community, what types of assessment tools are you using to track your programs? So some of the outcomes we had, so one of our very first talks was with Winona LaDuke, and you'll see we had a decent live attendance. It was 140 people showed up for that talk, but you can see over 600 people have watched that recording. So we're just reaching a much larger demographic of folks by making that accessible online. You're also having an impact by people not having to drive into a congested city, into our downtown central library, paying to park, driving, all of those other things. By making it online, people can watch from anywhere. And again, you can see we had a lot of the community partners there, and we used project outcome surveys to evaluate what people thought of these programs. And I do just want to shout out PLA, the Public Library Association, makes the software free for both public and academic institutions. They also provide QR codes, so you're not having to print out paper surveys. We were able to put the QR code large on the screen during the author talk, and the audience can literally scan the QR code and fill out a survey right on the spot, and it generates these infographics. So a really great way to, cut down on the paper. Also staff time, if you've got to go back and key in paper surveys, that's a lot of staff time too. So this is a really great option. It's a really sustainable option. And you can see we had great responses from folks. They were very engaged. Same thing. So this is our second talk, Wawa Gathru. Live attendance was a bit not as large of a live attendance, but again, that online attendance, more than 3 times as many people have watched it online. And same thing, positive results here with our project outcome surveys. Our third talk, 76 people attended live. This was hosted with Sarah at San Diego State University. But again, over 200 people have watched that online. So just reaching a much larger audience. Again, good survey results. The things I will mention, another great reason that we had these accessible online is we had 2, not 1, but 2 separate flooding incidents in San Diego. And as you can imagine, the flooding incidents happened in the very neighborhoods where we were collaborating. The groups impacted were the community groups that we were inviting to our events. We were hosting them in neighborhoods that were impacted by these floods. So it just kind of showed how important that work was. Again, the fires in San Diego in 2014 also impacted this. We also realized we need to make more language accommodations, so not just Spanish translation. So that's something we'll be working on in the future. And then, of course, each institution had their own logistical challenges as well, especially with the flooding. So what's next for us? So we are now working on emergency preparedness and climate resilience programs. So the public library and the county library, so the city and county libraries are working collaboratively to make sure we're offering emergency preparedness and climate resilience programs throughout the county, and we're not overlapping, that we're strategically organizing those programs throughout the county. We're also updating our resource guide and continuing to do presentations and webinars like this. And the last thing I'll just say is if there's any way that folks on this call want to help or support this work, please share our guide with folks. We have that resource guide. It's linked in these slides. If you have any program suggestions, you can email them to the Circuit Information Issues team. Our email address is there. And lastly, just thank you so much. There's my contact info and also the Circuit contact info.
Thank you so much, Oscar. I mean, it takes a village. It takes a village. It's the library, it's the city, it's this kind of consortia or team, citywide team that you have created. Amazing work. Two things that jump out at me. Everything is just really good. I haven't heard of a number of those initiatives from different libraries, but the use of free and available maps to design library programming, and in my time also collection services. I mean, these are things that are out there on websites, and you know, you just have to dig a little bit, right? As a good librarian ninja, you can do it. And then the other piece you mentioned about translations, and that's so important in our, you know, wherever we are these days. And so there are some digital tools out there that can make our lives easier and actually bring more people to libraries. So thank you so much. Welcome back, Sarah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to take part in this Earth Day Symposium. I just love hearing everybody else's perspectives, and I'm excited to see some of my co-workers that are participating, that we're working on different projects with, and of course working with Oscar as well, to hear that. I am Sarah Tribelhorn, the Sciences and Sustainability Librarian at San Diego State University, and I will talk about leveraging technology for greener library services from the perspectives of the academic library. And you have heard some of that from Maggie as well as Mario and different things that we're doing. But this is just kind of like a practical way of bringing this all together. Okay, so you do know for Earth Day, and we have like touched on some of this, but I just want to bring it all together to talk about why it's important that we consider how to be more sustainable in our libraries. First, it helps us to increase our commitment to the triple bottom line of environmental stewardship, economic responsibility, and social equity and community engagement, because sustainability really needs to embrace all of those things. And in addition, Loida had mentioned this, that sustainability has been a core value of the American Library Association since 2019. And in a local context, which applies to most academic libraries, but not all, is sustainability is a core value. It's a core value of our library, and it has been integrated into our strategic plan. And our library has been participating in the Sustainable Libraries Initiative Certification Program, and I saw Morgan on this call too. And this really provides library leaders with a tested, structured pathway towards sustainability through benchmarking all aspects of the library. So as part of this process, we've really had to look at sustainability, or everything with the sustainability lens. So as an academic library, we can leverage technology in numerous different ways to promote greener services and reduce our environmental impact. And I'll just provide some ideas of what we are doing. We're not doing everything here, but I know some academic libraries are doing this. So the first, of course, is our digital resources and infrastructure, expanding our digital collections. So prioritizing acquiring ebooks, e-journals, online databases, and streamlining media to reduce the need for physical materials, which consume resources in production, transportation, and storage. So I know that Maria had mentioned using green glass. We are doing the same. And also we have the power. San Diego State University is, I know many of you, the same as San Jose. We are one of 23 CSU campuses, so we can maximize our consortia by reducing some of that duplication and therefore taking up less digital storage as well. The implementation of a robust institutional repository. We can host and promote open access digital versions of faculty and student research, theses, and dissertations, minimizing the need for print and physical circulations. We can utilize cloud-based services. That's what Maggie had mentioned, that we can mitigate our library management systems and migrate them, and we can also obviously migrate data storage to cloud-based versions and other software to cloud-based forms. Large data centers often have better energy efficiency and resource utilization than individual on-site servers. We do need to be aware of the implications of these though as well. I do have to just mention in that. We also can optimize our website and online services. So ensuring that our library website and online resources are energy efficient and optimized things like loading times and minimal data transfer. And finally, on this, we can promote digital communication. So encourage electronic communication for internal and external correspondence, reducing paper consumption for memos, newsletters, and announcements. I do also have to just mention that there, of course, is a digital footprint with this form as well, and so it is also important just to be aware that although we have this cloud-based technology, it has a physical impact as well. So moving on to energy efficiency within our physical buildings, and I know that Maggie had said the same thing, academic libraries don't always have control over this, which we have learned through our process with the certification, but where possible to have smart lighting systems. So we cannot at this stage in our library just automatically change all of our lighting to LED. However, anytime there is a renovation, we prioritize this, but you could install LED lighting with motion sensors and daylight harvesting capabilities to reduce energy or electricity consumption. You can have smart HVAC systems, which would implement automated temperature control systems that adjust heating and cooling based on occupancy and external weather conditions and minimize energy waste. On the HVAC systems, we work with our campus partners, and we have reduced our heat and our increased the cooling slightly, and just those minimal temperature changes have made a big impact on reducing our energy consumption. You can also have energy efficient equipment, so replaced outdated computers, printers, and other energy equipment with Energy Star certified models, which is what we do. Implement power management policies, so encourage staff and patrons to turn off all computers and monitors when not in use and use automatic power down settings on devices. We already have these on most of ours that can't be turned off by individuals and only by authorized users and administrators on the background of those. And you can explore renewable energy sources. So for academic libraries, this is challenging again because we are obviously as part of a campus community, but there is EBSCO offer and have offered a grant for solar panels for the last at least 5 years. And and you just have to prove that obviously your roof can hold it and that you can manage to offset some of the cost. But again, it is working with, you have to make sure that you are in those conversations with your larger campus partners. So on to waste reduction and recycling. Again, as I mentioned, you can promote digital resources, which inherently reduces paper waste associated with printing and physical collections. Implement comprehensive recycling programs. We recycle obviously through campus vendors as well, so we don't have as much say within the library, but we can advocate for these. We can reduce printing. We do have automated settings on all of our library printers to encourage double-sided printing and default to black and white printing. And we do also promote digital alternatives for documents and reports. E-waste management, a lot of our e-waste that is campus-wide goes to our surplus, and we are working with them as well to see if we can efficiently recycle some of these through different vendors. And reusable items, we encourage the use of reusable mugs, water bottles, bags within the library and library events. We do small collections of the bags, like kind of tote bags that are given out free at conferences and things, and we actually donate these to students in need as well as our food bank on campus. On to sustainable procurement. Again, this is something that our library doesn't necessarily control, but we are working with our campus partners to work with them on various different options. So we try to prioritize eco-friendly products such as our recycled paper, non-toxic cleaning supplies, and furniture within the library. I know that our facilities manager really works to try and buy furniture that will have a long lifetime, and we do restore furniture before we purchase new furniture when we can. So we will recover our own furniture where possible and really try to look at the long-term use and where the furniture kind of is made, the material that the furniture is made from. We also try to consider the environmental impact of vendors. We are pretty new and early in this process, but we have been working with our procurement office to try and establish, we obviously can't mandate this, but we do try to get information out of the vendors to ensure some of the sustainability practices and certifications align with ours. And then, of course, there's digital procurement. So we use electronic ordering and invoicing systems to reduce our paper consumption, and that's been in place for many years. So on to some smart library technologies. We do not have this, but it is something that we would consider down the line, budget allowing, and that is the automated material handling systems to sort and transport materials, which can be more energy efficient than manual processes. Self-service kiosks, which reduce the need for staffed library circulation desks. We do have these on all of our floors. And occupancy sensors, which can be integrated into lighting and HVAC systems to adjust based on the presence of people, saving energy in unoccupied areas. And finally, what's really important in all of this, which I have heard before in the presentations and on the panel, is education and awareness. So just to promote those green library initiatives, use the library website, social media, signage to inform users about the library sustainability efforts and encourage their participation. Several of the panelists mentioned we've been doing this work in libraries inherently forever, but we are not really good about talking about it and saying what we're doing. So the other is to offer workshops and digital programs, and I know that Sandra is going to talk more about this. We have just done a digital declutter workshop, which was really well attended by our students. Curate sustainability-related collections, highlighting books, journals, digital resources related to environmental science conservation and sustainable practices, and partner with campus sustainability initiatives and collaborate with these groups to promote the broader sustainability efforts, and like what we have done in San Diego, as Oscar mentioned. And there are also useful organizations that provide more resources on these. ALA's Sustainability Roundtable, IFLA's Ensulib, and of course the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. And I can put all of these into the chat, just the links to all of those. And by thoughtfully integrating these technological solutions, our academic libraries can significantly reduce our environmental footprint, promote sustainability within the campus community, and serve as models for responsible resource management. And it's also important to regularly assess the impact of these initiatives and adapt our strategies as new technologies and best practices emerge. So I'll just include that up there. We do have a sustainability link, which I will also pop in there, on some of the initiatives that we have taken in our library.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That is amazing. And there are just so many resources. I encourage everyone to come back to all those links. Okay, so welcome back, Sandra.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm a school media specialist at Science Skills Center High School. It's located in downtown Brooklyn. We are a Title I school, and I've been the school media specialist here for the past 3 years. My career has a very winding road. I started out my career at Queensborough Public Library as a public librarian, and then I went on to academia, and then I decided that I wanted to give back and become part of a school, and here I am at the school. So my talk is building off of what Sarah mentioned. We are doing what we call a digital declutter challenge here at my high school, and the digital declutter challenge, what happens here is that I organize an initiative with students, and it's done by grade level. And you might want to know what it is when you say digital files for your sustainability. Well, everything we store is online. We store our emails, we store photos, we have documents in the cloud, even unused account sites sit on servers in huge buildings, which is called data centers. These data centers take up a massive amount of energy, which is 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it contributes to the carbon emissions. So the more stuff we store unnecessarily, the more energy is needed. I have students here that talk about they have 5 and 6 different email accounts, and some of their email accounts they don't access. And that was one of the reasons why we also came up with the digital decluttering challenge. Why does it matter? It matters because it helps our environment. It matters because it improves digital security. And it also matters because it enhances digital well-being and productivity. So what we can do is that you can reduce your collectively as a school to reduce our digital carbon footprint. So less data means less energy used by the servers. It also can help speed up our devices. It cleaned out old files, and it made our computers move much smoothly, because the students would complain in our computer lab that why the Macs are supposed to be the top of the line computers and they move relatively slow. So students had like major complaints about it. They also learned that they can use their cell phones and make their cell phones move smoother. As I learned when I got a new phone recently, I learned that I had over 200,000 text messages. Did not know that they did not delete automatically. That feature is no longer available. So that's something that I learned. So the students were exposed to that, my lesson. And as educators, we like to turn our lessons always into teaching moments. And this became a teaching moment. And hence, I developed the digital decoloring workshops. And so what else had happened is that we became digital. We had what we call a digital well-being, like a digital check-in, where we checked in with each other to see how things were going. So we have the digital waste problem. And you know, what was one thing that we did was we taught the students to find their large files. By finding your large files, it helps you to eliminate the large files, clear out the downloads, which is always house a lot of materials there, and then also empty your recycle bin. No one thinks about taking out the trash. It sits there, and that trash sits there, and it also clogs up and makes us use more energy when it comes to that. And last but not least, when you download all these different apps, when you go shopping, they were taught to delete the unused apps as well. So how do you lighten your load, the greener digital gigabytes? I just mentioned a few things that you could do. The old emails with attachments, those are the ones that take up the most amount of space in your email box, as students learn, and they continue to move on with that. So high school students, when we started this, they did not know that their digital footprint, they didn't understand the footprint that they were leaving behind when they go to social media. And so we talked about that. And most students didn't realize that they have 40 plus gigabytes of unused files on their devices. They maintain 3 to 5 dormant social media accounts where they thought that, hey, well, I have it. I'm not going to use it. It's there. That's that. And it stores up to 1,000 plus unnecessary photos. If you ever notice kids, they always have their phones out and they're snapping pictures here, all around, snapping pictures. And they didn't realize that if they don't delete these photos or move them over to a external hard drive, in which that was one of our campaigns, is to purchase external hard drives to move the photos off the phones and into a hard drive. That way you clear up and free the environment. They easily keep, like I said, 5,000 plus unneeded emails. They don't delete their emails. My next slide would have been, I'm totally so bad about, the student action plan. So after we finished the student, our digital decluttering workshop, the students came up with an action plan. So then it became a 3-week challenge. And then in the 3-week challenge, week 1, the students all had a challenge to see what grade level would delete unused apps and organize their download folders and clear their browser's cache first. And so in order to implement this program, they had student ambassadors, and each grade level had an ambassador, and the ambassador would follow up with their grade to see who would win the competition. And the students, of course, you know, everyone loves pizza parties, so that's what the competition was for week 1. Week 2 was they had to go through their photo library and clean up the photo library and email purge. And they started with the promotional emails first, because that's the tab that gets filled up the most. Told students that when you go into a store and you sign up for that discount, now you've also signed up for that company to continuously send you emails, promotional emails about product. So I also, as part of this digital decluttering, you know, with high school students, they don't think about the email address that they use that's associated with social media is the same email address that a company could use. If you use the same email address, you're giving them access to that. So they learn to clean up the social media. They also learn to have a separate email address for use for when they're looking for jobs and applying for colleges. And week 3, they went and reviewed and they closed dormant accounts. The old gaming that they had on their phones, gaming takes up a lot of energy with our phones as well, social media and shopping. And then they implemented a weekly tracking system to log and then estimate and clear space in their with their devices, whether it was their cell phones, their laptops, or if they had tablets. So as I mentioned about the class competition, it was grade led. You had the leaderboard. We had freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. The digital declutter ambassador, as I mentioned, in each homeroom. And what we did to track everything is, of course, we use QR codes. QR codes is they submitted weekly to track all their deleted totals. So they entered the raffle. Each one they raffled, they got cool sustainable prizes, things that kids liked, school-wide shout-outs, announced the collective achievement, and last, the top declutter, they won gift cards. Next, the slide would have said the digital security boost, right? And so how do you boost yourself? After you did all this cleaning up, you want to go and they learned that they had to do a security boost. So in the security boost, they learned about the password manager introduction for remaining accounts, the 2-factor authentication, step-up assistant, and data privacy for teenagers. And we used Common Sense Media, has a great presentation on privacy and having students check their data privacy. So if anyone wanted to do that, you could go and use, you don't have to recreate the wheel. They have a great presentation on that as well. And so the environmental impact calculator is that your deletions save enough energy to what was one of the questions for the kids. And then we had a conversion chart where they looked at what was deleted and the energy saved and their carbon footprint reduction. And of course, as I said earlier, to track everything, we use QR codes. So that way we eliminated paper for surveys and things of that nature. The next slide talked about the long-term impact and next steps. How we do digital decluttering is not just a goal, but it's a journey towards a more sustainable future. By embracing the principles of digital decluttering, we can minimize our environmental footprint and create a healthier planet for future generations. And I will leave everyone with that question. What does a healthier planet for future generations look like to you? And I'm at my Q&A. Thank you. And I will drop this link to my Canva presentation into the chat now.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I can see the chat is buzzing because your examples are really right on point and so practical and useful for all of us, individuals and also institutions, organizations, to look into these matters. I would like to look at the question and answer area to see if there are some questions or answers before we go. And we do have some notes on the comments as well. Oscar is recommending the Library Freedom Project flyers. And the link to Sandra's presentation is on the chat as well. And yeah, people are talking about how important is digital decluttering. That is wonderful. I didn't see questions, and we're on the hour. But I do like to share 3 takeaways from today's event before we go. And I also want to call Dr. Chow, if he's around, to if he wants to close the event. But before we go to Dr. Chow, I would like to share 3 takeaways from today. One is libraries are as leaders in digital sustainability. And we heard about that today, how uniquely positioned our libraries to lead sustainability efforts. Also, technology as a catalyst for community engagement. Digital innovation allows libraries to expand their reach and engage diverse communities in sustainability education, whether through online resources, eco-focused workshops, or interactive tools. Technology is helping libraries spark environmental awareness and action. I wanted to pause on that one. And 3, sustainable practices start with everyday operations. Green libraries don't require massive overhaul, essentially, but small intentional choices in resource management, digital collection strategies, and infrastructure can add up, right? We need to start somewhere, and that's a good way of looking at it. So the 3 takeaways are libraries as leaders in digital sustainability, technology as catalyst for community engagement, and sustainable practices start with everyday operations. We can definitely do this, continue working together to make every day a step towards more sustainable world. Dr. Chow.
Thank you so much. First of all, let's give everyone a loud Zoom round of applause for our panelists and Loida for her moderation of today's events. A great job. Thank you all for joining us today for this meaningful and powerful conversation. As we wrap up today's symposium, I want to take a moment to reflect on the powerful ideas and inspiring efforts we've heard about. Again, I'm partial, but as an analogy, what Phyllis presented with the removal of the dams and how the environment responded so resiliently within a year's time, I think gives us all hope in terms of what we can do to continue our sustainability practices. So I want to take a moment to reflect on these ideas and efforts, how our libraries are leveraging technology to reduce our environmental footprint, how we're also engaging with the environmental footprint of leveraging that technology as well, to how our digital tools are being used to educate, engage, and empower communities worldwide. And I think certainly for me, I believe it's about education around sustainability in both environments, print and digital. Today's Global Earth Day theme, Our Power, Our Planet, is a reminder again that we all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future. I'm proud to say that I'm not using plastic bags anymore, that I finally purchased enough reusable bags that's in the car, in the closet, in both cars. So I'm proud to say that's one minor thing that I've been doing. So as we've seen today, libraries are uniquely positioned to lead, educate, and inform today and in the future, whether it's through operational innovations, digital sustainability, community engagement. The work that's been shared by our panel and guest speakers really illustrate the immense potential we hold in our profession. Let this be a call to action, not just for today, but for the weeks and months ahead. I encourage each of you to take what you've learned, share with others, and find ways to incorporate digital sustainability into your own library practices. Together, we can help build cleaner, greener, and more connected communities. A few housekeeping notes before we conclude. First of all, a big thank you to all of our staff who made today possible. Our Culture and Community Student Assistants, Matsuko Friedland and Nicole Azoff. I had to say that Matsuko is going to be leaving us. Yes. Technology Student Assistant Claire Sola for fearless support of today's event. Our event coordinator, Vivian Zuo, and our marketing director, Nicole Perviance. I also shared this list of gratitude to also reaffirm to all the leaders out there that it does take a lot of time and resources to lead sustainability. And certainly we have to commit those resources to make it happen. We also have a full suite of free symposia on the way. Celebration of AA NHPI Heritage Month, also Deaf Culture and Community, Juneteenth Day, and also Pride Month. So those are all free symposia that I hope you take advantage of. Again, want to throw out the URL. So if you are interested in more information, this is our 4th year. Please go to that. And our sustainability pages are here. So our last 3 years of Earth Day celebration, and then finally our YouTube channel. So what we've learned a long time ago is that no matter how many people are attending these symposia in real time, the bottom line is the views online of our recordings, I believe, have a much more long-lasting and substantial impact. So anyway, thank you again for joining us. Let's continue to lead, innovate, and act for our libraries, for our communities, and for our planet. Thank you.